Join thousands of NFT traders who already start their day on CryptoSlam.
The first global conflict in the age of cryptocurrencies. Will this become a catalyst for global blockchain adoption?
Was government sort of endorsing or participating in it. I think this again is both a proof and another catalyst for further adoption of crypto finance technologies.
And how is the crypto platform Amber Group planning to deploy its new $200 million it just raised? Coming up on Word on the Block, Michael Wu, CEO and co-founder of Amber Group, joins us to dive deep into those topics and a whole lot more. The Russian-Ukraine conflict has been on top of everyone's minds, but a third participant, crypto, has emerged in the story, grabbing headlines all over the world. When traditional fundraising means fail, it was crypto to the rescue. When people found themselves unable to use their bank accounts or Google Pay, many found refuge in crypto. Welcome to Word on the Block, the series that takes a deeper dive into blockchain and all the emerging technologies that shape our world at the intersection of business, politics, and economy. It's what we cover right here on Forkast.News. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Well, today we are in conversation with Michael Wu, CEO and co-founder of Amber Group, to talk about what crypto has come to mean in this escalation and all the things that are happening in the blockchain cryptocurrency space in 2022. And I really appreciate you joining us, Michael.
Thank you, Angie, for having me.
Well, I want to kick things off with blockchain's potential. Right now, we are seeing it in full stream in crisis situation right now in Ukraine. And, you and I talk often, and you mentioned in one of our recent interviews with you that crypto is a great tool for humanitarian efforts such as war relief. What do you think of that idea? What makes crypto more suitable for a crisis than fiat currencies, would you say?
I think it's the idea that it's a global currency in a way. So as opposed to any particular fiat currency, or there are also currencies that have lots of capital control restrictions. If you have crypto, or if you are already in the crypto world, or with your wallets, with your accounts, it's very easy to transfer or wire the money to anywhere in the world, and to particularly help anyone in need. And also, in a way, nowadays, as the adoption increases, it's more and more of a globally accepted currency as well. You can use it for payments in many different places, or there tend to be fiat on-off ramps in almost every currency. So therefore, as I said, it's a global currency, and then also the whole wiring, the whole transferring is immediate, right? With most blockchains, you almost immediately wire, and the recipient almost immediately receives that. So that takes out an extra layer of uncertainty when it comes to things like humanitarian donations, etc.
I can only imagine. The world was really surprised by the invasion of Ukraine. What were the thoughts, as you, leading in this industry at Amber Group, when you take a look at all of your interests with customers all around the globe, what was your immediate reaction to the crisis in Ukraine?
It's definitely very sad. I mean, a war is, very, very heartbreaking, and my immediate thoughts, of course, are with all the people affected by the war, and I hope the whole world does whatever it helps to help relieve the situation. And we are also living in a world today. It's very divided. I think it's there are people I think are losing control on more and more of things that that's very unfortunate. So I guess like everyone else, I felt immediately very, very bad about the situation.
There was also immediate calls for exchanges and other blockchain firms and cryptocurrency interests to really clamp down and participate by carving out Russian interests, by ceasing activity of Russian-based accounts and the like. Did that ever cross your mind?
So we are a globally compliant and regulated firm, so we will have to follow whatever the international standard is when it comes to compliance, ML, sanctions, etc. I think in this particular case, right, whatever the global rules and regulations that were put out, right, we as a firm that's compliant with global regulations will have to follow.
Well, let's talk about the humanitarian potential of cryptocurrencies here, because I think that is something that we are all seeing in the industry right now. And it is in real time, we are seeing how cryptocurrencies are being used and potentially setting precedents for the future. Stablecoins have also received a lot of attention lately as safe haven digital assets without the high volatility of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. How do stablecoins, in your view, Michael, compare to legacy safe haven assets like gold and government bonds? What's the upside of stablecoins in emergency situations as you're seeing play out in the market?
Sure. I think, when we are talking about the stablecoins, right, essentially you have to understand, in a sense, they are fiat dollars that mapped over to the blockchain, but by mapping them over to the blockchain and make them crypto assets, you immediately bring a lot of additional benefits to the dollar, right? Such as it become more easily transferable, accessible, and there's an inherent higher return on it because of the structural interest rate arbitrage we talked about before between crypto assets and fiat assets. And also, in terms of being a safe haven asset, I think globally the US dollar is a safe haven asset. So when it comes to crises like this, and many places in the world don't have access to dollar easily, at least among the commoners. Therefore, I think dollar stablecoins also offer a very easy, convenient access to dollar and easy, convenient way for people to hold their own dollars in dollar stablecoin terms and even earning an interest about that.
We've recently seen the emergence of the Ukraine DAO. This is the Decentralized Autonomous Organization dedicated to helping Ukrainian civilians in the military. For example, in your view, will the Ukraine DAO represent a turning point for blockchain and decentralized autonomous organizations? It really is using blockchain technology to help those most at need almost immediately.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a very interesting and important event in the development of DAOs. I think this is the first time, it has brought to main stage in sort of a global political setting, and was government sort of endorsing or participating in it. I think this again is both a proof and another catalyst for further adoption of crypto finance technologies such as the DAO. Whether it's a turning point, I guess it depends on how you define that. But I think this potentially could be a catalyst for more adoption, for sure.
Well, to that point, according to Circle CEO Jeremy Allaire, he says exactly that Russia's war with Ukraine has become a catalyst for crypto adoption. When you think about that, do you think that there's growing focus on crypto's potential for aid distribution now that we're seeing the real life impact of crypto in humanitarian crisis? Do you think it will receive a brighter spotlight in emergency situations as a catalyst, maybe more broadly, for using the technology more globally?
Oh, for sure, and I think it definitely helps in all kinds of humanitarian efforts, whether emergency situations or day-to-day continuous efforts, right? And besides that, of course, all kinds of charity efforts. I think there are more and more donations happening in the form of crypto, and there are more and more NGOs, global humanitarian programs that accept crypto as a form of donation. Who knows, one day, very soon we could have all of them also running their own DAOs. And I think, again, this shows both the power of crypto adoption and also, in terms of more use cases in these charity or sustainability or humanitarian efforts. I think crypto finance as an underlying technology will enable us to, what we often call, our platform wealthing, do good to the world while doing well financially.
Well, to your point, it is about the power of adoption, the power of crypto as a financial vehicle, and the power of innovation. But time for a quick breather. When we return, we're going to talk more about how geopolitics is impacting the demand and prices of cryptocurrencies with Amber Group CEO Michael Wu. After the break, should we brace ourselves for a crypto winter?
Well, I think there will certainly be a lot of volatilities. In terms of long-term or even medium-term directions, I think I'm always quite clear on my view that crypto is here to grow, not only to stay.
And later, a $200 million fundraise, and it's just the beginning. What's next for Amber Group when Word on the Block returns?
Forkast.News is your gateway to all things blockchain, breaking down and breaking through the noise with the people who know it best and why it matters. We go to where the action is, from Asia to the world. Forkast is the most reliable source of intellectual discourse and insight that informs, educates, and bridges the gap between the blockchain industry and the mainstream. The future is being built, and Forkast has it covered. This is Forkast.News.
Well, crypto market movement, major coins, Bitcoin, ETH, Cardano, Solana, looked quite volatile following Russia's incursion, moving similarly to other risky assets. Back to the interview with Michael Wu, and it's great to have you with us here on Word on the Block. We've been talking about this emerging role of crypto here, and I want to talk about markets right now. If one's taking a medium-term view, where do you see, Michael, the market heading in the next few months? Do you expect the same level of this price volatility we're experiencing right now?
If anything, I don't expect the same price level. I think there will certainly be a lot of volatilities. In terms of long-term or even medium-term directions, I think I'm always quite clear on my view that crypto is here to grow, not only to stay. So therefore, in blue chip assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think the price go up over time. I think we're still quite early in the adoption cycle. I think Bitcoin at least itself should be more than a $10 trillion assets at some point. In the very immediate term, let's call it next few months, there are just too many uncertainties right now. Very unfortunately, there's a war happening, and also before that we were actually both sort of in the last stage of the Fed's zero interest rate cycle, and Bank of England in fact already started hiking rates, and we were expecting 6 or even 7 hikes this year. Now will that change because of the war? I think potentially, but we are also looking at global energy prices, commodity prices, flying, right, due to a lot of the potential supply issues at the aftermath of the war and all the sanctions. So there are a lot of uncertainties, I guess. So it's very hard to pinpoint exact timing, exact level for crypto prices. However, what I will say is, for blue chip assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, every large sell is almost by default a buying opportunity.
If you take a look at current situation as well, according to analysts, the drastic drop of the Russian ruble, could be one of the main factors driving up Bitcoin prices. But as we all know, there are numerous factors, as you've said, to consider when it comes to the crypto market. What do you see are the biggest factors currently influencing Bitcoin prices beyond the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? You've touched on it a little bit. You've talked about the Fed and BOE action. But are there other reasons that potentially we could see some price movements backing up what we're seeing in crypto?
Sure. I think a lot of that right now is also, the cycle adoption, right? I think, from second half of 2020, we saw a large wave of institutional adoption, right? A lot of traditional big name asset managers started to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, on their treasury. In 2021, of course, that accelerated, and I would say, that was a year where, we saw more and more institutional adoption, and it went from the norm for most institutions to stay away from crypto, flipping to, the norm being most institutions are at least open or even already involved in crypto. Now, clearly we enter a little bit of correction since the fourth quarter of 2021, and for institutions that have started to poke their fingers around crypto, we will see whether this is a good further entry points for them, or this is where they take a pause and say, hey, guys, let's review this, let's monitor how this goes, right? I'm in the view that once things stabilize, it'll be the former case. But we are hearing different opinions or even discussions among our customer base on the institutional side as well.
What do you think the market conditions need to be? The maturity level, potentially the ratio of institutional to retail. What do you think the market environment needs to look like before the crypto market stabilizes, before we see this excessive volatility that has been really the unique characteristic and marker of crypto?
So I actually think, it always, the retail and the institutional adoption always have to take turns, right? I mean, crypto started as a grassroots retail movement. And then, some early institutions got involved because they saw a lot of potential. They saw a lot of, a large community of the very early crypto adopters already. And clearly the early adopting institutions benefited a lot, both financially and reputation-wise from that. Then, of course, that led to, price increase and more retail adoption. And then, institutions also notice that and say, hey, we have to take this seriously. And, you have more institutional adoption, which in turn, led to, more mainstream reputation assets like Bitcoin and further retail adoption, right? So as you can see, the cycle goes on and on. Now, I think, we are back on, institutions have been more involved. We probably need more consumer adoption, right? And as I kept saying, we have a slightly different belief from many in the industry that, right now, even though right now, trading and, sort of financial speculation is probably still the largest use case for crypto applications. We think over time that will not be the case. We think, over time, the real consumer applications will dominate the crypto finance space. So, I think there are companies like ourselves building towards that vision, and therefore, hopefully, start the next wave of broader consumer adoption.
We often talk about the crypto winter, the volatility of the market, and we're seeing macro events, right? Despite tightening by the U.S., Federal Reserve, macroeconomic headwinds, we're hearing from Bank of America that they see no signs of an impending crypto winter due to the level of, as you said, crypto user adoption. What do you see as the main driver of future user adoption? Do you think that right now, what we're seeing in the conflict in Russia and Ukraine is a catalyst that forces people to see what the system truly looks like under duress? and what cryptocurrencies can offer as an alternative?
I actually think, without this current crisis, I think, people are seeing that already, right? People are seeing, it is in the end of the day a more efficient technology, and also it has been built on, fundamentally more efficient technologies anyway, right? I mean, the use of the internet, the automation of finance, even without crypto and blockchain was going to happen. But crypto and blockchain sort of offers this really, really neat and scalable solution for that transition from, legacy finance to, more dynamic fintech and with a lot more innovative capabilities. So I do think, there are all kinds of catalysts and all kinds of accelerations for this, what I think inevitable trend.
Well, speaking of which, hold your thought. When we return, we're going to talk about Amber Group's plans for the future when we come back. On the other side, is a public offering in the cards for Amber Group? More when we come back.
Forkast.News is your gateway to all things blockchain, breaking down and breaking through the noise with the people who know it best and why it matters. The future is being built, and Forkast has it covered. This is Forkast.News.
All right, welcome back to the show. We are speaking with Michael Wu, he's CEO of Amber Group, and got to ask you about some capital raising that you did recently and what you're going to do with all of these crypto or dollars funding in your war chest. Temasek fundraising here. You've raised, $200 million in another round of funding, valuing Amber now at $3 billion, a unicorn for sure now. The round was led by Singapore-based Temasek, along with existing shareholders pitching in. Clearly there is institutional interest in Amber. What are you going to do with that, number one, investor interest, the support that you're getting from institutionals, and then also all of those dollars that you've raised? What are you going to do with that war chest?
Sure. So I do think, like you said, that there are further and further institutional interests in companies like ourselves, like Amber, that sort of bridges between, this new technology, the powerful offering because of crypto finance, and the more existing broader use cases, right? With traditional financial institutions, with average consumers, etc. In our case, we are very excited to bring in partners like Temasek, where being a Singapore headquartered company, to have the support and backing of the Singapore Sovereign Wealth Management Fund is a very exciting deal for us. And regarding the fund raised, right, I mean, that definitely further increases our war chest, but the company has been quite profitable since early on, so that capital will will add to a lot of our existing expansion plans, but it doesn't order the path of them, right? So I think the company is still in fast expansion phase. So we are hiring globally very aggressively. We are also looking at the strategic investments and acquisitions, and we are also investing a lot in key areas such as products, security, etc., so that we can better service our global customers. In the end of the day, we think that's really the most important thing. That's way more important than fundraising or any other events. If we can really service our customers better, really bring long-term value to them because of crypto finance innovation, because of this new Web3 economy, I think that will set the company for success in the long run more than anything.
You've previously said you're looking to take Amber public, possibly 2023. Is that still on the cards?
I think that's always been an ongoing internal discussions. I mean, no decision has made, but I think there have been a lot of talks externally. I mean, internally we do have such plans. But again, this is up to, a lot of things, right? This is up to what's best for the company, how does it best help us service our customers, and what's the external, capital markets environment. We have to take all of that into considerations. So again, as I always say, that there's no firm decision or firm answers there yet because we haven't decided internally. But, this is always an open option we're looking at.
As you sit here, and final question for you, Michael, where do you see the future of this industry going from a financial point of view, from a financial infrastructure point of view? We are really, it feels like we're at the crossroads. And here you are, you're building up something for the future. Where do you see this cross-sect at some point in the future?
Sure. So I think, crypto finance is here to grow. And, I think at some point this will evolve and expand to broadly, this new wave of Web3 fintechs, which I think we're already building toward. At that point, I think it will be beyond just, what we define as crypto right now. I think it will be broadly, digital assets or digital finance, because I think everything is being digitized as we speak, right? That's probably the biggest paradigm shift in our lifetime. And therefore, eventually, I do believe the digital economy will be larger than the so-called, physical or real economy. And therefore, the financial infrastructure, the kind of services in that digital economy will also be bigger than the financial industry right now.
And there could be a role for everyone, no doubt, at some point. Michael Wu, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Word on the Block.
Thank you, Angie. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this latest episode. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forkast. Until the next time.